not worth the paper it's written on. It's going to exclude so much, and it's going to just potentially create a whole bunch of problems and loopholes and whatnot. You do get what you pay for. Hi, Jeff Marsachi, the Plain English Attorney, and today we're going to react to something on Reddit about someone going online to ask, hey, look, I'm going to be talking with an estate planning attorney. What should I know? And there are some stipulations that are in here. So let's go ahead and we'll jump right into the Reddit thread. And again, this is from r/estate planning. Where there's lots of good content that I talk about and react to and often will post. So, what questions to ask a state attorney? My work in California has provided MetLife estate planning as part of benefits. I speak to an attorney next Monday. I have no knowledge of will, living trusts, etc. I am reading and trying to make sense of everything, but I feel like I have no time. And Google is full of tedious information about this. We have one 10-year-old minor kid, and my sister lives in USA, with whom we have a distant relationship and is not trustworthy. So essentially, we don't know anyone we can trust to manage a living trust as well as our kid. All right, so let's stop there for a second. Can't manage the trust and the kid. Those are actually two separate questions. Who do you want to be a guardian, and who do you want to control the money for that kid? Those are actually two separate questions. So go ahead and keep that in mind. If you think it's important for educational videos like this to get out there, then please help us out by subscribing to the channel. We have no property in USA, but we do have money in bank accounts, 401k, Roths, I-bonds mostly. All of them have spouse followed by my kid as a beneficiary. He has his 10-year-old kid as a beneficiary on all that stuff. That means at age 18 or 21, the kid gets everything, can do whatever he wants with it. Not a good idea. Not a good idea at all. What questions do I ask the attorney? Any easy and excellent resources to get educated in 2 days. All right. So that's actually quite a bit. There's a lot going on there, but the biggest issues that I saw, look, there's one beneficiary after the spouse, which is the kid. They're only 10 years old, and there seems to be a deficiency in who they can put in charge. So let's go ahead and see what kind of advice other attorneys on the Reddit thread, what advice they gave. The best one-stop resource I've found isn't technically about planning. It's the guide to being an executor after someone dies. It brings up many excellent issues that my actual estate planning attorney never did. And there's something there from Morgan Stanley. All right, well, first of all, it's being an executor, which is about probate. Most of my clients want to avoid probate. So the revocable living trust is a way to avoid probate and avoid a lot of hassles. A lot of the stuff for the executor, well, okay, any resource can give you good information as long as it's accurate. But one of the things that this poster actually put is, look, I've only got 2 days. I can't just Google everything. Getting a tangential resource probably isn't going to help it. It kind of seemed like this wasn't an actual attorney giving that advice. So walk in with a list of assets and discuss what's best to do with each one. Yeah. But this is also all over the place. Well, I want my 401k to go here. I want this bank account to go there. I want this other stock account to go here. I want the I-bonds to go. No. One plan for where you want stuff to go. Break it out by percentages. Trying to go asset by asset is wasting your time and the attorney's time, and you're going to end up having to update this plan over and over again as your assets change. Not the best way to go in. Do you have friends who would be your child's godparent? You 100% do need a plan for what happens to her if you both die at the same time, e.g. in a car crash. Well, that's the only thing that really seemed on point is, yeah, you need to have a plan. Let's go back in and see what the attorneys are advising. The planning you get through MetLife benefits is going to be worth exactly what you paid for it, which is nothing. Attorneys with any idea what they're doing don't work for pennies on the dollar. OP, I can tell just from just a few sentences that you have a complicated planning situation and a minor child to consider and care for as well. Please invest some resources in getting this done properly. Every attorney is different. Sometimes they're part of a network where they'll give some kind of free consultation or whatnot. I've done a couple of plans where their company had a kind of set dollar amount that could go towards estate planning. They didn't say, oh, if you go through this attorney, it's free and we've got this benefit. It's like, no. Have the attorney actually write up a bill that they did estate planning for you, what the cost was. And no matter what the cost is, we're only paying X number of dollars. And you get this as a benefit, of employment for once every 3 years or something for estate planning. Okay, great. That's fine. I didn't say, oh, I'm only taking, and I'm not going to reduce my fee and only take that. And my clients weren't expecting me to. If you do end up with one of those, quote, free services and get a free will, yeah, like one of the other posters put, you get exactly what you paid for. All right, so next, there is approximately a 0.0 chance a MetLife employee is going to be able to grapple with this situation. Depends on the employee. Not sure if it's an employee or just part of the referral service, but I get the point that unless they actually are an experienced estate planning attorney, very likely they're not going to be able to really navigate this for you. MetLife uses member attorneys to provide the services, but they pay those attorneys something like $750 for an entire trust-based estate plan, including the consult, follow-up, signing, etc. It's not possible for the attorney to provide competent representation at that rate. Oh my gosh, that is 100% dead on accurate. Let me tell you, even when I'm doing favors for close friends and family, if we're doing that work, we can't do it for $750. Even if I'm basically donating a bunch of my time, I can't donate all of it. And certainly with the other expenses, no, we can't do it for that amount. You end up with what a guy who wrote The Living Trust, Henry W. Apps III, he used to call it a thin trust, 10, 15 pages at the most, not worth the paper it's written on. It's going to exclude so much, and it's going to just potentially create a whole bunch of problems and loopholes and whatnot. You do get what you pay for. All right, let's go to the next one. I'll be honest. I'm not sure I see the distinction between a member attorney and an employee, and since my bar association seems to conflate the two, I might as well too, right? Just kidding. Only sort of. LOL. 100% agreed on the practical reality you outlined. It's not fair to OP or that poor attorney. I wouldn't take this case, and I'm sitting in a private law office in a big city. I know where I'd refer it, though, in my state anyway, and they aren't cheap. From what minimal amount I've seen in U.S./India international estate planning, you could build a wealthy profession just practicing that element alone. Very, very true. Once you start getting international issues involved there, it just ends up completely making things a lot more difficult. If you are both gone, who would raise your child? If you don't make this clear, your sister might become guardian, or your child might become a ward of the state, orphanage. Is there anybody in India who would come to the USA to actively argue to take your child? Perhaps your first session with the estate planner could be best used just to figure out what the questions are. Answering them could take many weeks of discussion with your spouse and family. Question, my live sister, live sister. Is that a wording mistake or translation of an Indian concept? I think my sister lives in a certain area is what this was about. So lots of good suggestions here already on things to look into. So this is me, but I would like to add things to think about beforehand as well. With my clients in North Carolina, I can boil down the 4 biggest decisions you'll have to make. Who do you trust to handle financial decisions for you if you can't? And the way I always look at that, have one person. If they can't do it, there's a backup. If they can't do it, there's a third just in case person. Keep that as the minimum. I see all the time, well, I got one person. I can't think of another 2, so just go with it. No, that something happens to that one person, it's getting thrown to the court. Don't do it that way. Come up with your 3 people. Put in the energy and thought to think about who you want to do this, because that's going to be one of the most critical decisions. Who do you trust to handle medical decisions for you if you can't make those decisions yourself? So that's the second one. So it's first financial decisions, second medical decisions for you. 3, when you pass on, who gets what, when do they get it, and maybe even how. And 4, who will raise your minor or disabled children if anything happens to you? Those are the big 4 questions. That's really what gets to the heart of everything. And again, have one person. If they can't do it, there's a backup. If they can't do it, there's a third. When you're talking about where your estate goes, that's when you need to think of a couple of layers of contingencies. If you've thought about those big 4 things, as well as who's going to be in those lists and how your estate's going to go, you're already well on your way to having a good discussion with that attorney in the very, very, very first meeting. You're getting to the heart of the matters. It sounds like you're putting thought into that last one and presuming children are the beneficiaries for the third one. True. The specific video I did on choosing trustees, we'll go ahead and put a link to that below. There are also a lot of other videos on my channel about specific topics that might help you get you going in the right direction. So that's the advice that I gave. If you can think about the big 4 questions and who you want in those positions, and what someone else put, have a good list of your assets. Look, just having a good pre-appointment questionnaire that the attorney should be giving you gets to the heart of all that stuff. So that's something that you're going to fill out and have well ahead of the meeting. So I hope you found that information useful and you could maybe apply it to your own situation if you don't have your estate plan in place. And if you don't, please go ahead and check out the resources that we've got on the YouTube channel. We also have the Estate Crash Course webinar, which is a free webinar, and that's going to get changed up pretty soon. It's the end of October 2022, and it's an interesting, fun one about Beyonce and numbers and estate planning. It's estate planning bigger than Beyonce. Go ahead and check that out while it lasts. Otherwise, if you go to that Estate Crash Course webinar, it might be a different webinar by the time you get there. Maybe a little more serious, maybe not. So again, I hope you found that information useful. As I always tell my clients, please stay safe, plan ahead, and enjoy life. And whatever you do, make it a great day.